That approach to industry campaigning goes way beyond a traditional idea of negotiating wages and conditions with an employer every few years. It almost makes employers a potential partner in the union's campaign. Is that a big change in the way you deal with employers?
Look, I think again because of the change in the system, our approach to employers in the past was quite different, and so I think it is a big shift. But it's a bit like, I remember John Howard used to talk a lot about, and particularly in the election we heard a lot about how good the economy was. The economy might have been good for some, but it wasn't great for a lot of our members. And so when we look at industries, the economy, these are not neutral things that have one pathway. They can have different ways of operating. So you can have a very successful and commercially viable and sustainable industry that still treats its workers correctly, still pays them, still gives them dignity, gives them safety, gives them security. But that won't just happen unless we have a voice and we have some economic power in that industry to make that happen. And because our industries are becoming more national and more global, the only way we can do that is by forcing, really, engaging with employers to ensure that we're able to sit down and have a discussion that we can bring our issues to the table, but in a way that they can see some commercial benefit. And so we've tried to look at strategies that actually help build the industry, but not off the backs and not by ripping off workers. And so yes, there is a level of industry engagement and employer engagement that I think is much more significant than it has been historically. And that's been, interesting. And we've had to had to learn a whole way of new relationships, and so have some of the employers and key stakeholders. But ultimately, what I think workers want, talking to any of our members, what they want is, they don't want war in the workplace, they don't want a bad boss, they actually want to work in a good workplace with good conditions, good atmosphere and a good employer. And if we can develop that for people through their collective efforts, and it's a win for workers and it's a win for the industry and employers that do the right thing, great. Not to say that we'll wear bad employers, we won't. We won't wear employers that don't give people the right to organise and be active in their union and have a voice. We won't wear employers that don't treat their workers with dignity. We won't deal well with employers that try and put people's health and safety at risk for economic gain, and we won't deal well with employers that don't want to develop the skills and capacities and voice of their workforce. So we're not going to just say, employers are all terrific, but what we understand, and our members the first to understand this, if their employer is successful, then we've got a better chance of providing good jobs and good outcomes for our members.